Going live.
Says we're going live. Okay.
Oh, it did something.
Oh,
No, that's
no, that's the other one.
That's still the same. Hang on. Let me re-click on it.
Wait. No, but seriously.
Okay, we're on.
We are live. We are live.
You're live.
And I can hear the audio on my side.
We're good on
Whew.
here.
All right.
All right. Well,
Jeez, that was intense.
thank you, everybody, for your patience. We are three historians trying to do both go live on Facebook and YouTube, and there are no Gen A people in the building, so appreciate
right.
your patience.
Yes.
Anyway, so happy 70th
Yeah.
anniversary for women's ordination and full
Yes.
membership
Yes.
in the Methodist Church, in the United Methodist Church.
Yeah.
We are going to spend the next undesignated amount of time geeking out on all things women and history. And Reverend Dr. Emily Nelms Chastain is now a 4-time guest with us.
Yeah, there should be. Are we going to do a 5-timers club?
We could.
I need a 5-timers jacket the next time we record. Yeah.
Deal. I will
Crystal,
do that
if you're listening out there,
we'll work on that.
get me a 5-timers jacket.
Well, welcome to, I think, the second ever live podcast that we've done for Untied Methodism. I'm Dr. Ashley Bogan. Thank you for joining us, and let's dive in. So today is May 4th.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, it is the 70th anniversary of women's ordination and full membership in the annual conference. We're going to get into all the nuances of how that debate went down. But I want to start by acknowledging that I don't think you can see our feet, but both me and Emily are wearing red shoes. And there's a reason for red shoes. Emily.
Yeah.
What is the reason for red shoes?
So this goes all the way back to like the very beginning of women in Methodism, right? Like Georgia Harkness. Georgia Harkness almost wasn't Methodist. And Georgia Harkness's great-grandmother, Abigail, she was a Quaker.
Okay.
And she had this red coat. And I had the article up just a second ago and it just went away. Y'all, we've had so many technical difficulties today. I'm going to pull this up just because I want to make sure
She was a worldly woman.
She was they called her a worldly woman, that they thought that she was a little spicy. I'm giving the word spicy to that. And so this red coat caused Abigail and her husband Daniel to be shunned. Like they wrote her a letter of miscommunication, essentially, because of this red coat. So Georgia Harkness loved to tell the story. I mean, she was an epic storyteller anyway, but to tell this story about like they almost weren't Methodist, but they're Methodist because they got shunned from this Quaker community.
I love
it. So yeah, later on, Rosemary Skinner Keller, the late great Rosemary Skinner Keller, historian extraordinaire, wrote a biography about Georgia and included this story because she loved doing it. And Rosemary decided to start wearing red shoes at Garrett Seminary as a nod to Georgia Harkness's great-grandmother, Abigail, who started all of this controversy. And now that's why we wear red shoes today. I wore red shoes when I was ordained. In fact, at my annual conference this year, and I think at several others, people are going to be wearing red shoes, red scarves, red everything to celebrate. I've got my red danglies.
I bought a new red blazer and red pants. I mean, and red shoes. So at some annual conferences, y'all just may see me just bright as all get out. Probably.
Yeah, it's like a whole retake on the Scarlet Letter. You know, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay. So, but during the 1956 General Conference, when women are granted full membership, they weren't wearing red shoes.
No.
What were they wearing?
They were wearing yellow ribbons.
Okay.
Yeah. The yellow ribbon has a pretty deep history in Methodism when it comes to women. They were wearing yellow ribbons all the way up through the beginning of the Commission on the Status and Role of Women in 1972. They even named a newsletter after this wearing of the yellow ribbon called the Yellow Ribbon, and it was the newsletter of the United Methodist Church's Women's Caucus.
Wow.
By the way, little nod to the archives. Those files are all found in the Commission's archives, and you too can go through all of the editions of the Yellow Ribbon yourself.
As Emily did for her
As I
dissertation.
did.
All right. So before we dive into the delightful nuances of the 1956 Daily Christian Advocate, we have a clarification that we need to make. So a lot of people have been saying that today marks 70 years of women's ordination or rights to ordination.
Yeah.
That's not entirely accurate.
Correct.
So give us the background, Emily.
Yeah. So women have been locally ordained as local preachers since 1920.
Okay.
With the and they were, that right was taken away from them in 1880. So we just wanted you to see the 1880 discipline is sitting here with us.
And it's so cute.
It is very tiny. If people want to know what disciplines used to look like, they fit in your pocket or in your saddlebag.
Mhm. They were useful.
They were very tiny. The print is also very tiny. But yeah, 1920, they can be locally ordained. So they would use this argument saying, well, women have had ordination for all this time. Why do you want membership? Like, we already have given you this right. Like, what else do you want?
What else do you want, woman?
Right?
Yeah.
Equality. What? Yeah. So women have been ordained since 1920, but they've been locally ordained deacons or locally ordained elders. They were not full conference members. And so the membership to the traveling ministry is what they called it. That they wanted provisions in the traveling ministry, which gave them rights to a pension, or an annuity, as they would talk about it then. It would give them rights to membership in the annual conference, which means you had a guaranteed appointment. And that was the big deal was, women they had to wait until district superintendents were just like trying to scrape the barrel and figure out who they could put in this tiny little church. So women didn't have any mobility in that world. So 1956 is when they are actually given full equality in the church in terms of being a clergy person.
Okay. Now, I know in 1928,
Oh yeah.
there's one you have, we've been talking as we've been trying to figure out how to go live. So we've largely already done this podcast and you're hearing it repeated. So in 1928, you read some great quotes and 4 reasons why women should not be ordained. So 1920, they get local ordination. 1928, we're still having this debate because women just keep petitioning to get full membership rights.
Yeah.
So read us the reasons why women shouldn't have this privilege or this right as in 1928.
Yeah. So just as a note, in 1924, this commission comes back and reports on why they can't be fully ordained, that, the problem is the appointment. We can't guarantee that. And so they come back in full force in 1928, as they do every single general conference until 1956, by the way. So for 30 years, these women are fighting for this. But in 1928, general conference is in Kansas City, and Mr. MC Wright moves for the adoption of the majority report, and the majority report at that general conference was non-concurrence. They said, well, we don't think that any of these provisions for women to be full conference members align with what we want, so we're going to push non-concurrence. And MC Wright from Northern Indiana gets up to move the adoption, and he says there are 4 fundamental reasons that should bar the advance of this legislative camel that would give admission to women to the itinerant relationship. The first reason is maternal and racial, which puts the ministry of motherhood above the ministry of preaching. ... The second reason against the admission of women is moral and ethical. Our work is fraught with danger. What right have we to commission women to travel circuits over bandit-beridden roads and thug-infested highways at late and unseemly hours of the night? ... The third reason is practical and economic. The itinerant ministry holds the right of support for a preacher and his family. ... The fourth reason against the admission of women lies in the essential nature of the itinerancy. This is my favorite part. That was a side note. The itinerant ministry is a masculine ministry. As much as any calling, it is a man's job. It takes a real he-man to qualify. This is still quoting. To qualify as an itinerant Methodist preacher, ours is a militant ministry, and not until we conscript women for war dare we think of filling our ranks with feminine contingents.
So I need a side note that I love that the word he-man is in the DCA.
Yes.
That's
We
gonna go
should have
down as-
we should
as
have
a good one.
copyrighted it. We could have made a lot of money on that series.
So 1928, obviously there's still some sexism. I mean,
Yeah.
we could unpack what you just read for the rest of the night, probably.
Yeah.
So this is not an easy conversation. And
No.
once women are granted or local ordination rights in 1920, they keep coming back until 1956, wanting that full membership. And it keeps being denied to them largely because of this almost excuse, this administrative excuse.
Yeah.
Of what are we going to do when we have to guarantee an appointment to a woman? There are some churches that won't take a woman. And how do you deal with that if you have like an annual conference that none of the churches will accept a woman preacher, and yet you've ordained women and guaranteed them this appointment? So this seems like an administrative quagmire almost, and it's I don't know. So let's dive in maybe to the DCA and start unpacking some of the language there.
The DCA, by the way, for any Methodist newbies, is the acronym that we give our beloved Daily Christian Advocate, which is our daily newspaper of all things General Conference. And it has been published for quite a long time. So for every General Conference, you can go and find the Daily Christian Advocate and read the actual minutes, almost down to the time, but they don't timestamp it, unfortunately. But yeah, and I should mention, there was some willingness by the body of General Conference between 1928 and 1956 to entertain women who were unmarried or widowed. But for some reason, marriage meant that you should be located, which located is just a fancy word for take them out of service while retaining membership. So, yeah.
And that's what comes up in 1956. And so when we pull up the Daily Christian Advocate for this day, just to give you all an understanding of how long this debate goes on, when you get to the transcription part of the DCA, it goes on for 14 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So our best educated guess is that on May 4th, they probably started debating the majority and minority report around 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And we think because they extended time beyond the 5 o'clock adjournment, that they were most likely voting into the 6 p.m. hour.
Yeah.
So this is an all day on this one report. So the report that comes to the plenary is the majority report.
Yes.
And the majority report says that it would allow for full membership into the annual conference for unmarried or widowed women.
And only unmarried women or widows can apply for this full connection membership. Yeah.
So we see there that there is this assumption that once a woman gets married or starts having a family, that she can no longer withstand the itineracy, I guess.
Right. The previous rule coming into that general conference was paragraph 313, I have in my hands oh, nope, that's the 1956. I have the 1952 discipline that paragraph 313. Oh, these pages are so tiny. And the writing is so tiny. I hope I can read it with my glasses on and don't have to. All right. So paragraph 313, women are included in the foregoing provisions of ministry, except insofar as they apply to candidates for the traveling ministry. So that itinerancy piece, full connection with the guaranteed appointment and pension, that was not allowed to them. And so they come up to amend paragraph 313 to say that only unmarried women and widows may apply to the provisions of the traveling ministry.
So all of this debate is talking about this paragraph 313. From what we can see, this up until the 1956 General Conference, no paragraph had received as many petitions as this one. They report that they had 2,000 petitions on this one paragraph.
Yeah.
And that shows us the amount of intensive labor and lobbying and advocacy that was happening between general conferences, probably through the women's division, the women's caucuses. I'm trying to get my timeline right of women's organizations.
Yeah, the women's division, the women's prior to 1956. But yeah, a lot from the women's division. That's and you had support from deaconesses. You had support from all kinds of different folks who were petitioning for this. And just for reference, that 2,000 number on one issue, Heather Hahn did a beautiful write-up today in the United Methodist News. And she gave us reference that in 2024, when we had a ton of legislation to get through, that entire General Conference, my gosh,
you're good,
had 1,200. So 800 shy of the whole General Conference. So you can imagine, like, the Committee on Itinerancy and Committee on Ministry just really had their work cut out for them to bundle all of these into one thing.
All right. So when we get to the plenary, we have a majority report and a minority report. The majority report is the report that says paragraph 313 should be amended to allow unmarried or widowed women to have membership.
Right.
The minority report essentially says, leave it as it is.
Correct.
All right. So these, and this is one of the things that I love about reading old daily Christian advocates, and I don't recommend that you do this as a hobby. It will drive you nuts, but I kind of love it.
But the Metho nerds,
but we love it. I read this on the airplane.
It's like
again,
evening reading before we go to bed.
It's delightful. I wish I could show y'all my highlights. They are all over. But the amount of confusion evident on the floor of General Conference, that seems to be a universal across time.
Yes.
Within the Methodist tradition.
Yes.
The number of times that people, like right before a vote, they'll raise their hand with a point of order saying, like, what are we voting on?
Yeah.
And the number of parentheticals where it's just audience shouts, no.
Yeah.
It makes my heart so happy that we've never understood Robert's Rules of Order.
No, it's true. And I mean, even in just women's ordination, there are so many blunders that happen just with not getting printed in the DCA. So then people didn't know what the actual words of the report were, of passing these things along to the conference secretary, but never making it to the appropriate committee, or it doesn't get the right referral because documents aren't there. So like this process alone really shows this microscopic look at how messy Robert's Rules of Order can be, especially if you know how to manipulate it and how to move things along. So shout out to all of our folks who love to manipulate Robert's Rules of Order. This is a subject that really shows the damage that you can do, and how, I mean, every time one of these things doesn't make it where it needs to go, you've now got 4 years before you can do this process again. And so, I mean, women stayed connected to it, but yeah, it really does show the problems that can arise in parliamentary procedure if you're not paying attention to it. So that's a little shout out for all of you people who want to be parliamentarians, and this is your life stream. You have a future in United Methodist Church.
So in the middle of this debate, they break for lunch, but I want to read this. This will give the example of just how confused people were. Bishop Harrell says, "Wait at the microphone one moment. You are offering this as a substitute to the substitute?" Leonard Slutz, "No, I am offering this as a substitute to the main report, which is the item before us for perfection." Bishop Harrell, "The minority report is in the form of a substitute. It may be offered as an amendment to the minority report if you so desire." And then he adjourned.
This is
so
why
frustrating.
our bishops have parliamentary training, and like why they don't find out until 24 hours before, right?
Yeah.
By the way, if you didn't know that, bishops only find out like 24 hours before that they're going to preside. So this is, they really are running on the fly.
Yeah.
But no, there was so much confusion, and even, but add to that, right? Like even when, Mr. Chubb is bringing up this document, this report, he's also like, you can tell he's exhausted from it because he's like, okay, here's the report to which we've all been looking forward. It's been discussed, the pros and cons. I don't think there's anything new about this. It's before you now and in order so that we might have the story of how we worked on it in the committee. And so they're frustrated, like even in how they're presenting, they're frustrated because this is also toward the end of General Conference. This is not, day one coming out like we did in 2024, where it's like, let's talk about regionalization right away. This is stuffed like toward the end of General Conference. And they almost don't get it. And so the people are frustrated and they start cutting speeches because they realize that like the more that we talk about this, the more bogged down we're going to get. And it's just getting ridiculous.
So one of the, let's see. So after adjournment for lunch, they come back to this substitute of the amendment and they discern that it actually is an amendment so they can hear it. And this is where we actually start getting into some of the substantive debates. Well, I guess the substantive debates. Some of the reports against this, and this goes to what we were saying earlier. Let's see, this is Robert Duncan. "I am against the amendment, Mr. Chairman, because I believe it does not get at the problem before us. It seems to me that the problem is the matter of women rearing a family, and that is avoided in the original majority report when it applies to women who are not rearing families." So it really is this question of, can you be essentially a mother and an itinerant preacher?
Yeah. It takes them a long time to move on from that argument. And I mean, hindsight is 2020. We know that eventually they drop that kind of language, but they even end up with people from outside the United States who start standing up and going, "Hey, this is pretty wild that like I'm coming from, quote, the backwoods of Bengal to champion full clergy rights of the all-powerful American woman." Right? So like you've even got like regional conference members are like, what is taking y'all so long? Like we already decided this a long time ago outside of the United States that this is something that we need. Why are you still like held up on this argument? Yeah, it's great.
So it takes a long time for a woman to actually stand up.
It does.
Speak.
It does. It does.
About 6 pages into the DCA, I mean, we're going to call that, I don't know, 3 p.m. since this is time stamped. But when a woman finally does stand up, it reads, "I recognize the lady at microphone number 3. And the lady is Mrs. Henry Ebner. We learned that her name is actually Anne. Her name is not Mrs. Henry.
From the
New
Jersey Conference.
From the New Jersey Conference. And when I first read this, I was like, finally, a woman's going to get up and like put them in their place. And she doesn't.
No.
What does Anne say?
Anne says that she's really concerned that this is going to cause a decline in our deaconess population, which is up until that point one of the only ways that you could be ordained non-locally in the mission field, serving as a deaconess. And she comes in and she says that she doesn't think we should open up another field of service for our younger women. It's too many options, basically.
Too many options.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't have all these options before us. And she also lays out that people, if they affirm membership for women, they'll have to say yes to 3 questions. 1, are you willing to accept a woman as your pastor?
Mhm.
2, are you willing to accept a district superintendent in charge of you if you are a pastor? And 3, are you ready for a woman bishop?
Yeah, they weren't ready for that.
They were
The rest of my dissertation is where I spend talking about how much people fought against women in the episcopacy. Of course, 1980.
Yeah.
So 1956 to 1980. 1956, when women get full conference membership and become eligible to the pool to be elected. 1980 is when we elect our first woman bishop. So, I mean,
slowest star.
Women have been fighting this political machine for a long time, and in all of these nuanced arguments that show up in this debate.
Mm-hmm. And as the debate continues, we actually do get a couple more women joining in. One is Mary Lou Barnwell, who is the executive secretary of the Commission on Deaconess Work. And she essentially puts Anne in her place and says, we who oversee the deaconesses are not concerned that women having full membership and clergy rights is going to detract from deaconesses.
Right. She said, I mean, any deaconess wants to apply for that. If that's what she feels called to do, she can do that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to hold them up. She said of only 500 of the deaconesses that were active in the Methodist Church in 1956, all except 29 favored clergy rights for women. So like literally almost every single deaconess was also fully affirming this decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we get through the minority report, right? And the minority report is voted down after it is perfected.
Yep.
And then they go to the majority report. Now, the majority report, right, again, this is still only limiting full membership to unmarried women or widows.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting thing starts to happen towards the end of the conversation with that. Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Are you talking about Dewey Muir?
Yeah. So the Johnson substitute.
Yes.
So Zach Johnson, who is from
Kentucky. He was the president of Asbury College at that time. Thanks, Heather Hahn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. That's awesome. So Zach Johnson kind of stands up and offers a substitute to the substitute, which again, polity nerds, gotta love this. And he actually proposes putting stuff in the positive language. Instead of saying that only unmarried women and widows can be allowed full membership, he says that paragraph 313 shall be amended to read, women are included in the foregoing provisions and may apply as candidates for the traveling ministry as provided for in chapter 3 of the discipline, period. And so what he ends up doing is he's not only proposing that they remove the restrictions on women, but also that they don't limit it, but they fully affirm that women can be and should be part of the traveling ministry.
Yeah. In fact, he goes on to say when he's speaking to this motion that let us give women the perfect right to apply on the same basis as any member of any annual conference in Methodism. Yeah.
And so when I first read this, Emily, it brought back, or I guess it brought up kind of the debates at 2024 General Conference.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about the 3 R's, right?
Yeah.
Regionalization, revised social principles, and then the removal of harmful language.
Yeah.
And I remember leading up to 2024, a lot of the conversation was about, do we only seek to remove harmful language or do we try to put in affirming language? And so it's really interesting here in 1956 that essentially on the fly, on the floor, they vote to not only remove prohibitory language, but to add in affirming language
Yeah.
for women.
Yeah.
And like how huge that is.
Yeah. In fact, we did some looking. We were trying to find paragraph 313, which was the original paragraph in 1952. And in 1956, they just delete it. Like it's just gone. And it's actually stays gone until 1968 when they merge with the EUB, the Evangelical United Brethren Church. And so instead of having the paragraph 313 with the limitation, now paragraph 303. So this starts like in the first 3 paragraphs of chapter 3. Women are included in all provisions of the discipline referring to the ministry. So they don't even talk about the traveling ministry. They're just saying like all of it is now inclusive in 1956.
I mean, that would be the equivalent of 2024 saying essentially the same affirmation about queer people.
Yeah.
Like that would be how huge this moment is in 56.
Yeah.
If that had happened.
It's a theological statement.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know everybody thinks like when you learn United Methodist polity in seminary or, you're getting ready for general conference, it's like church law and just rules. And everybody, they think some people get very wound up about, words. But, in our case as Methodists and as United Methodists, words matter. They become theological statements. And so the change in 1956 is a theological statement to say, yeah, we've been affirming women in ministry for a long time, but we've always had an asterisk on that. The same way that in 2024, we were like, well, we've been affirming, but we've always had an asterisk on it. But how do we change that to make it a theological statement? And so, I mean, the Book of Discipline, you love it or leave it. And I mean, I know a lot of you, I joke to my seminary class, if you need good reading material when you got insomnia, hit up the Discipline. But like, I mean by that, obviously the 1,000 paragraphs, right? Like not in the early ones. The first 500 paragraphs are actually beautiful. But this is a theological affirmation of like, we are not changing our minds on this. This is something that will stay in place. It's just short of the constitutional amendment kind of restrictive rules. It's still, we don't have that restrictive rule language, but it's very important. So in 2024, in 1956, these are really important statements that the church has stood on. I mean, my personal opinion is it took it way too long to get there, but they become theological statements. They're not just church law.
And to get at, earlier you were mentioning like the politics at play and how people who know how to manipulate Robert's Rules of Order can either start or change the conversation. So Johnson brings up this amendment that is affirming of women. And as you read the DCA, like this is where you can start to see some of the politics coming out, because when it comes time to vote on the amendment, Bishop King says, the amendment is before you. As many as will support the amendment, let it be known by a show of hands. Oppose the same. And then he admits that he's not sure. And will you vote again? As many as will support the amendment, let it be known by a show of hands. Oppose the same. The amendment seems to be lost. And then in parentheticals is just cries of no, no, no from the floor. And so then they'd opt to do a count vote.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who don't realize, like technology has not always existed at General Conference. And so before
it was all paper.
It was paper
or
like
write it all
raising
out.
your hands or holding up a green placard.
There was no like pre-submitting,
Yeah.
like the way that we send things to the conference secretary now and they like sort everything out into committees. Like some of these are brought up, like walked up and handed to the conference secretary at that point.
And so
they did all this in 12 days.
But when they're doing these votes, it's really up to the discretion of the bishop presiding if they determine if there's a majority or a minority.
Yeah.
And so the Bishop King believes that the amendment fails. And most of those on the floor obviously disagree. And so they then ask for a standing vote.
Yeah.
Where you actually have to stand and people walk around and count. And you can imagine how long that takes.
Yeah.
But the standing vote provides different.
Yeah. And it's only 100.
It's
100. It's less than 100 people difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. The final vote was 389 to 297. So, we talk about this decision and how much we celebrate it. But I also just want to remind y'all that this is like 53%, right? Like this is what we see some of our presidential elections coming down to, or our, state elections or whatever. And so, it's the majority with that amendment. But man, as a clergywoman now, it would have really been nice to see that, a lot more close to the like clean majority.
Yeah. But then what's even weirder, right? So the substitute or the amendment to the substitute, whatever the language is, it passes from a standing vote.
Yeah.
But then Bishop King says, we've been here a long time. Maybe we should adjourn for the evening. So that they didn't actually vote, or he didn't want them to move forward to actually vote on the majority report with the amendment substituted, or however you say it.
Right.
So again, the politics come into play where he's trying to almost stop
Yep.
the momentum that seems to be gaining.
Yep.
And again, you can see in the DCA cries of no from the
Yep.
audience, and they then extend the time more, and they do it through applause.
Yeah. I mean, this is that they're frustrated, right?
Yeah.
You're toward the end of General Conference. You've been talking about this all day, and they're not new arguments. They're ready for the vote. There are all these procedural things that are trying to keep it from happening. The patriarchy shows up in Robert's Rules of Order, and especially on this issue, they don't want to go against the power brokers, the committee chairs and all this kind of thing. They want to feel like they have order, but even the presiders can lead it the wrong way.
Yeah. And I mean, you can just see, I can't imagine hearing this, but when they actually make the vote, this is the actual majority report, everything amended and substitute and whatever, the way that it's phrased is, the matter before us is the substitution of the amended substitute for the majority report. As many as will approve the proposal to substitute the amended substitute for the majority report, let it be known by a show of hands.
I think you got to slow that down.
Like, what the?
Okay, slow it down. Okay, so here's what we're voting on. We are clarifying the presiding chair is clarifying what we're voting on, because again, this is a consistent issue at General Conference. What are we actually voting on? Repeat that.
The matter before us is the substitution of the amended substitute for the majority report. As many as will approve the proposal to substitute the amended substitute for the majority report, let it be shown by a show of hands. And then it ends with, it is done.
There's a little part of me that, like, in the gut of my stomach, I was like, oh gosh, did we just uncover a point of order that should have fixed?
Did we just undo it?
All right, you point of order people, like, text us. Did we just rule all of this out of order? No, but it's so confusing.
It's so confusing.
Like, even with the language of the paragraphs where they're talking about, like, except for this and except for this, like, I mean, Zach Johnson is exactly right. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to end up putting a double negative in there and then undoing what you thought you were going to undo. So I'm getting texts already about the substitutes.
Thank you, Polity Nerds.
Thanks. But it just goes to show, like, number one, Robert's Rules of Order is not the easiest way to move forward on these things. But then you're putting confusing language in, and anytime you try to move that out of the way or use these procedural mechanisms, I mean, it just goes to show that, I mean, back in 1924, they were saying that this should happen. Like, we should be giving this because, can I read that quote?
Yeah.
By the way, hold on, let me scroll all the way through my 40 pages of DCA notes just on the DCAs. Oh gosh, where is it? It was in 1924. A great New Englander, George H. Spencer, from the New England Conference, got up in 1924 to say, almost on the same day, this was May 9th, 1924, I'm simply here to say that I reset my convictions upon this matter down upon the fact that the whole movement of the modern world is to grant to women an equality with men. Here's a great word for you. I believe it is pusillanimous to go halfway and give women a crust when they are asking for bread, to admit them into the vestibule when they want to come to the altar of the temple, to hold them outside the fellowship when they want to get in and have a full part. Should we be raising hypothetical questions and possible objections and refuse to entertain, to adopt, to move in this advance? The question is not what consequences sometimes may be. The question is what the Methodist Episcopal Church should do in May 1924. This man prophetically called out all of the mechanisms used for the next 34 years, 32 years. I'm not a math person. And called them out and said, stop giving these hypotheticals, stop giving all these weird objections. If a woman feels called to ministry, give her the right to do it and don't let us stand in her way.
Don't give her a
pusillanimous.
Pusillanimous. There's your wordle for the day. That's not 5 words.
That is not a wordle.
Your spelling bee. Your spelling bee for the day.
But that's your word to go look up in Google.
Yes, pusillanimous.
Yeah.
Okay, so May 4th, 1956, at the end of a long day and a lot of confusing Robert's Rules of Order, women are affirmed full membership in the annual conference. And this backs up the right to, or I guess it expands the right to local ordination that they had to full ordination.
Yeah.
So when then is a woman actually, when is she actually granted full clergy rights? Membership.
Officially, it happens 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, the Central Pennsylvania Conference meets, and they're like, well, women have the right to do this. We have somebody who already meets this criteria. Her name is Maud Jensen. And they make the vote right there in their annual conference on, is it May 24th? No, it's May 18th. May 18th, 1956. They're like, yeah, thumbs up. Good job, Maud. And she wasn't even there.
but that shows you, right? She wasn't, she was not there because she was serving as a missionary.
Yeah, she was in Korea.
But we, our wonderful reference archivist, Frances Lyons, found a cablegram that Maud Jensen sent from South Korea over to Central PA.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I guess once she gets word that
she gets word
her.
6 days later, and this is her response to being the first woman granted full membership, and it's wonderfully humble. I'm aware of historical significance of conference membership and deeply grateful for privilege, but honor completely unexpected and due entirely to early meeting of my annual conference. Feel Georgia Harkness and other active women ministers deserved first recognition after long struggle and able contributions to the church. Praying for wisdom and spiritual development and further service in this new relationship. May God's blessing be upon all women concerned, Maud Jensen. And so here she's essentially admitting that she didn't, or she's claiming that she didn't do anything special. It's just her conference went first. But how wonderfully humble is it that she's, not only naming all the women who have fought before, but also Georgia Harkness.
Yeah, Georgia and Madeline Southard, Florence Rezer Jardin, who stands on the floor in 1956 and continues this when she started on her role in 1932. Doing this work. And a lot of this work comes back to the Association of Women Preachers, who have been keeping up with this. On our last podcast, we talked about Madeline Southard. And so Madeline Southard is alive when this happens. So she gets to see it, but she's not present. But Georgia Harkness is. Georgia Harkness is there. And she has also been a member of the Association of Women Preachers. Florence Rezer Jardin, same thing. And so all of these women are getting to celebrate this. But the reality is, like, while they celebrate it, they're like, all right, well, who's next?
Yeah.
Like, they start charting to see like who else they need to do this work for.
Yeah.
So there's so many women that are involved in this work, and it's not just 56, right? Like, you're going I like to go back and talk about how the patriarchy is even alive with John Wesley. Like, I know we love to talk about John Wesley and how, John allowed some women to preach, but the reality is he never codified it. And then when Methodism moves across the Atlantic and starts up in the United States, they don't codify it either. And in 1880, they do the opposite. They completely limit it. And so, gosh, I wish I could count all of the women that I know about. Like, I can't even count all the women whose names I've seen that are involved in this. It's in the scores. Do we use scores anymore? Like, it's in the scores.
I don't know what that
Right.
means.
4-score and
Like 4-score?
like
And 7
it
years
says
ago?
like a score is 20 years. So it's like
But it's
multiple
in the
scores.
scores?
Yeah, it's in the scores of like how many women I've tracked. Right? But like, you're talking about all these women in the Women's Society of Christian Service. You're talking about Women's Division. You're talking about United Methodists. Well, it's not United, in the Methodist Women. Like, all of these groups have been talking about this for a long time. And so, hat tip to Maud Jensen for recognizing all the women whose shoulders she's standing on.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't heard the history of those women's, I invite you to listen to the podcast that we've been recording since January. All of our 2026 podcast episodes for Untied Methodism feature the history of these women who got us to the moment that we are celebrating today. And we will continue the discussion. Next time, I think we're going to look at kind of what happens after 1956, because
the story's not over.
The story's not over. It's never over. Right?
No.
Just because you're granted access at one moment doesn't mean that you stop fighting to keep it or to expand it.
Well, because from 1956 until 1980, there's no women
There's no
bishops. So we got to figure out, like, how do we get to the point where we have women bishops? Spoiler, women are involved. Like,
No.
and they're organized.
Oh my gosh.
Get to learn a
That's
little bit
good.
more about one of my favorites, Jean Audrey Powers, when we talk next time.
Yes, we will talk about Jean Audrey Powers next time. To everybody who tuned in and stuck with us, thank you.
There's a great blooper reel on
There
the
is.
previous one.
We will release the blooper reel at some point because it is quite wonderful. You can see us looking through disciplines and babbling and trying to figure out what's going on. But seriously, thank you all. This has been another episode of Untied Methodism, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.